The marble floors were so shiny I could see my reflection, a tired 50-year-old woman in a cheap red polo shirt with grease stains on the collar. The security guard at the desk wasn't even looking at me. To him, I was invisible. Just another delivery driver. That's what I'd become. Vanessa Hawthorne. Former logistics manager. Former wife. Former woman with a future. Now, I delivered pizzas for $8 an hour plus tips that barely covered my gas. "Penthouse delivery," I said to the guard. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. This building used to intimidate me even when I wore business suits. Now, wearing this stained uniform, I felt like I shouldn't even be breathing the same air. The guard waved me through without a word. The elevator ride to the top floor took forever. I watched the numbers climb. 10, 15, 20, 25, and remembered when I used to take elevators like this every single day, when I had an office with windows, when people called me Ms. Hawthorne with respect in their voices. That was before Darnell destroyed everything. The penthouse door opened before I could knock. A woman in her 30s stood there, beautiful, put together, wearing yoga clothes that probably cost more than my rent. She looked at the pizzas, then at me. Really looked at me. Her face went strange, pale. "Oh my God," she whispered. "You're Vanessa Hawthorne." I froze. Nobody had called me by my full name in months. Most people just called me Pizza Lady now if they called me anything at all. Yes, I managed. She pulled out her phone so fast I thought she was going to call security. Instead, she started typing frantically, her fingers flying across the screen. Then she looked up at me with tears in her eyes. "You need to call this number right now," she said, shoving a business card at me. "I'm a paralegal. I work for Hutchinson and Associates downtown. We've been trying to find you for 6 months." "Find me? Why would—" "Your mother was Geneva Hawthorne?" My heart stopped. I hadn't heard my mama's name spoken out loud in 5 years. She'd passed when I was 45, and I'd grieved alone because Darnell said he was too busy to come to the funeral. I should have known then what kind of man he really was. "Yes," I whispered. "That was my mother." The woman, her name tag said Alicia Chen, wait, that can't be right for the character, let me restart this section, grabbed my hand. Her grip was tight, urgent. "Ms. Hawthorne, you need to sit down." "I can't, I have 6 more deliveries. You're worth $823 million. The pizzas hit the floor. Let me back up. Let me tell you how a woman who's supposed to be worth more than some small countries ended up delivering pizzas in a stained uniform at 50 years old. 3 years ago, I had everything. I was the logistics manager at Laurent Enterprises, one of the biggest supply chain companies in the country. I'd worked my way up from the mailroom over 15 years. I knew every system, every client, every detail of how that company ran. I made $120,000 a year. I had a 401k, health insurance, respect. I also had Darnell. We'd been married 22 years, high school sweethearts. He was my first everything, first kiss, first love, first man I ever trusted with my whole heart. We'd built a life together. A small house in a decent neighborhood, Sunday dinners after church, Christmas lights every December. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. Or so I thought. Turns out, Darnell had been having an affair with my boss for 2 years. Camille Laurent, billionaire heiress, CEO, woman who could buy and sell people like me 1,000 times over. She was beautiful in that cold, sharp way, like a knife made of diamonds. I didn't know about the affair. I was too busy being good at my job, being a good wife, being the woman who held everything together while everyone else fell apart. The day everything ended started normal. I got to the office at 6:30 a.m. like always, made coffee in my office, reviewed the shipping reports for our Asia-Pacific accounts. Everything was perfect. Our numbers were up 15%. I'd just saved the company $2.3 million by renegotiating our carrier contracts. At 9:47 a.m., security came to my office. Ms. Hawthorne, you need to come with us. I thought someone had died. That's the only reason security escorts you out of a building in the middle of the morning. But when we got to Camille's office, she was sitting behind her massive glass desk with a smile that made my blood run cold. Vanessa, she said, like we were friends. We have a problem. Darnell was sitting in the corner. My husband. He wouldn't look at me. Before we continue, quick question. What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Camille opened a folder. We've discovered discrepancies in our accounts. Someone has been embezzling money from the company for the past 18 months. Small amounts. Very clever. Almost undetectable. That's terrible, I said. What can I do to help investigate? She smiled wider. You can start by explaining why all the transfers lead back to an account in your name. The floor dropped out from under me. What? That's impossible. We have documentation, Camille said, sliding papers across her desk. Bank statements, transfer records, digital signatures, your name, your employee ID, your access codes. I looked at the papers. It was all there. It looked real. It looked like I'd been stealing from the company for a year and a half, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions. I didn't do this, I said. My voice shook. Someone set me up, someone who had access to my codes, I looked at Darnell. He still wouldn't meet my eyes. Oh God. You can resign quietly, Camille continued, or we can press charges. Your choice. But I didn't. Choose now, Vanessa. I chose resignation. I thought it would protect me. I thought if I cooperated, if I was reasonable, the truth would come out eventually. I was so stupid. Within a week, Camille had blacklisted me across the entire industry. She had power and connections everywhere. Every job I applied for, every interview I got, one phone call from her, and suddenly the position was filled. I had 20 years of experience and glowing recommendations from every company I'd ever worked for, but none of it mattered. Camille Laurent said I was a thief, and in our world, her word was law. Darnell filed for divorce the same week I lost my job. He moved out while I was at a job interview, took half of everything, and moved into Camille's penthouse in the Meridian Tower, the same building where I was now delivering pizzas. I found out later they'd been planning it for months. The affair, the frame job, the divorce, all of it carefully orchestrated to destroy me and clear the way for their new life together. Darnell got half our assets in the divorce, including half the value of our house, which I had to sell because I couldn't make the mortgage payments on my new pizza delivery salary. Camille got my husband and the satisfaction of crushing someone beneath her like an insect. I got nothing. No job, no savings, no husband, no future. I moved into a studio apartment in the cheapest neighborhood I could find. I took the pizza delivery job because it was the only place that didn't run a background check or care about industry blacklists. I wore the stained red polo. I smiled when people tipped me quarters. I said thank you when teenagers called me pizza lady like it was an insult. I survived, barely. My mama used to tell me, baby girl, sometimes you got to go through hell to get to your blessing. She'd say it while cooking Sunday dinner, while braiding my hair, while sitting in our church pew with her hand in mine. My mama was a strong woman, a quiet woman. She worked as a secretary her whole life, never complained, never asked for anything. When she died 5 years ago, she left me exactly $3,247 in her savings account, and a note that said, "I'm sorry I couldn't give you more." I cried for a week. Not because of the money, because my mama spent her whole life apologizing for not having enough when she'd given me everything that mattered. Now this paralegal was telling me my mama was worth $800 million? That's impossible, I said to Alicia. We were sitting in her penthouse now, the pizzas forgotten and cold on the floor. My mother was a secretary. She lived in a tiny apartment. She shopped at thrift stores. She was Geneva Hawthorne, Alicia interrupted gently. And Geneva Hawthorne was the silent partner in Meridian Property Holdings. She co-founded the company in 1978 with her business partner, Harrison Steele. I stared at her. Meridian Property Holdings owned half the commercial real estate in 3 states. They owned shopping centers, office buildings, apartment complexes. They owned the building I was currently sitting in. That can't be right. Why would she live like she had nothing if... She was hiding, Alicia said softly. From your father. My father. I hadn't thought about him in decades. He'd left when I was 3. Mama never talked about him except to say he was a dangerous man, and we were better off without him. Your mother built an empire in secret, Alicia continued. She put everything in a trust under a corporate name. She lived modestly so your father could never find her, never find you. She worked as a secretary as a cover, but she was making millions in real estate investments. When she died, the trust was supposed to transfer to you immediately, but there was a problem. What problem? We couldn't find you. Your mother set up the trust with your maiden name, Vanessa Marie Hawthorne, but you'd gotten married and changed your name to Vanessa Richardson. Then you got divorced and changed it back, but there was a gap in the public records. We've been searching for 6 months. We were about to declare you legally missing. I couldn't breathe. $800 million. $823 million to be exact, plus ongoing revenue from the properties. Ms. Hawthorne, you're one of the richest women in the state. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. The sound came out harsh and broken, like something inside me was cracking apart. I was sitting in a penthouse wearing a pizza delivery uniform with grease under my fingernails, and someone was telling me I owned the building. There's something else, Alicia said quietly. Something you need to know before you sign the trust papers. What? Meridian Property Holdings owns this building. The Meridian Tower. Which means... She paused. You're about to become Camille Laurent's landlord. Everything stopped. Camille Laurent. The woman who destroyed my life. The woman who stole my husband. The woman who blacklisted me and took everything I'd worked for and left me delivering pizzas at 50 years old. I owned her building. I owned her home. The penthouse lease is up for renewal in 30 days, Alicia said. As the new owner of Meridian Property Holdings, you have final approval on all lease renewals for premium properties. I looked at Alicia. Really looked at her. Are you telling me I can evict her? I'm telling you that you have options, Alicia said carefully. A lot of options. But first, you need to come to our office tomorrow and sign the trust papers. Bring identification. Once everything is processed, you'll have full control of your inheritance. She handed me a folder thick with documents. This is just the beginning, Ms. Hawthorne. Your mother built something incredible. She did it for you. Every property, every investment, every dollar. It was all for you. I held the folder against my chest. It felt heavy, real. For the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than despair. I felt powerful. There's one more thing, I said slowly. The person who lives in this penthouse, the one who ordered the pizzas. That's Mrs. Camille Laurent Richardson, Alicia said. She lives here with her husband, Darnell Richardson. My maiden name, my inheritance, my building. And somewhere in this penthouse, 20 floors above where I'd stood invisible in the lobby, Camille and Darnell were probably sitting on their expensive furniture, drinking their expensive wine, celebrating how thoroughly they'd destroyed my life. They had no idea the woman they'd crushed was about to rise up and own the very ground beneath their feet. I stood up. My legs felt shaky, but I stood. What time should I be at your office tomorrow? Alicia smiled. 9 a.m. And Ms. Hawthorne? Don't wear the pizza uniform. I walked to the elevator with my head high for the first time in 3 years. The security guard didn't even look up as I passed. Still invisible. But not for long. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, I would sign papers that would make me one of the richest women in the state. Tomorrow, I would step into the empire my mama built in secret, the inheritance she'd hidden and protected and saved for me. And then? Then I was going to remind Camille Laurent and Darnell Richardson that karma doesn't forget. Neither did I. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those trust documents. $823 million. My mama's secret empire. The building where Camille and Darnell lived, owned by me. I kept the folder on my chest like a Bible, afraid if I let it go I'd wake up and find out it was all a dream. That I was still just Vanessa, the pizza lady with grease stains on her uniform and quarters in her tip jar. At 5 a.m., I gave up on sleep. I took a shower in my tiny bathroom where the water never got quite hot enough. I put on the only professional outfit I had left, a navy blue dress I'd kept from my old life. It was 3 years old and a little loose now because I'd lost weight from stress and skipped meals, but it was clean and pressed. I looked at myself in the mirror. The woman staring back at me looked tired, scared. But there was something else there, too. Something I hadn't seen in a long time. Hope. At 8:30 a.m., I was standing outside Hutchinson & Associates. The building was downtown, all glass and steel and money. The kind of place where people like the old me, the logistics manager me, used to work. The kind of place that wouldn't hire the pizza delivery me if I begged. Now I was here as a client, an heiress. It still didn't feel real. "Ms. Hawthorne!" Alicia met me in the lobby. In the morning light, I could see she was younger than I'd thought, maybe 30 at most. She wore a crisp gray suit and had her hair pulled back in a neat bun. She looked at my outfit and smiled. "You look perfect." "I feel like I'm pretending," I admitted. "You're not pretending anything," she said firmly. "You're Geneva Hawthorne's daughter. This is your birthright. Come on, Mr. Hutchinson is waiting." Theodore Hutchinson was a tall black man in his 60s with silver hair and kind eyes. His office was on the top floor, with windows that looked out over the whole city. He stood when we entered and came around his desk to shake my hand. "Ms. Hawthorne," he said warmly, "I cannot tell you how long we've been looking for you. Your mother was a dear friend. I'm so sorry for your loss, even though it's been some years." "You knew my mama?" My voice cracked. "I was her attorney for 30 years, he said gently. "Geneva was one of the smartest, strongest women I've ever known. She loved you more than anything in this world. Everything she built for you." I had to sit down. Mr. Hutchinson guided me to a leather chair and handed me a box of tissues. I hadn't cried in months, couldn't afford to, not when I needed every ounce of strength just to survive. But now the tears came fast and hard. "I didn't know," I sobbed. "She never told me. She lived in that tiny apartment and shopped at Goodwill, and I thought she had nothing. I thought she'd struggled her whole life, and I couldn't even help her because I was struggling too." "She didn't want you to know," Mr. Hutchinson said softly. "She was protecting you. Your father was a violent man, Ms. Hawthorne. Dangerous. When Geneva left him, she had to disappear completely. She changed her name legally, created the business under a corporate entity, lived modestly so he could never track her wealth. She was terrified he'd find you if he knew about the money." "Is he still alive?" I whispered. "No, he passed away 8 years ago. Geneva could have revealed everything then, but she was so used to hiding, to protecting you, that she kept the secret. She planned to tell you everything when you turned 50. She wanted to make sure you were mature enough to handle it, wise enough to manage it well." "I turned 50 last month," I said quietly. Mr. Hutchinson's face fell. "She died when you were 45. She never got the chance." We sat in silence for a moment. I thought about my mama, about all those years she'd lived small and quiet while sitting on a fortune, all because she loved me enough to sacrifice everything to keep me safe. "Can I ask you something?" I said. If this has been in a trust for 5 years, where's all the money been going? Into more investments, Mr. Hutchinson explained. The trust was self-managing. The properties generated revenue, which was reinvested. When your mother started the company in 1978, it was worth maybe $2 million. Today, it's worth over $800 million because she was brilliant at real estate investment, and the trust continued her strategies. She bought properties in areas just before they developed. Shopping centers, office buildings, apartment complexes. She had a gift. He opened a portfolio on his desk. This is what you own, Ms. Hawthorne. For the next hour, he walked me through my inheritance. It was overwhelming. I owned 37 properties across 3 states. Commercial real estate, high-end apartment buildings. The Meridian Tower was just one of 12 luxury residential buildings in my portfolio. The annual revenue is approximately $42 million, Mr. Hutchinson said. After property taxes, maintenance, and operating costs, your net income is roughly $28 million per year. That's before we discuss your liquid assets. Liquid assets? The trust also holds stocks, bonds, and cash reserves. Currently about $93 million in immediately accessible funds. I stopped breathing. $93 million just sitting there, available. Before we continue, if this story resonates with you, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our next story. I want to see everything about the Meridian Tower, I said slowly. Every detail, especially the penthouse leases. Mr. Hutchinson and Alicia exchanged a look. Ms. Hawthorne, he said carefully, I understand you have history with some of the residents there, but I have to advise you to be cautious. Revenge can be satisfying in the moment, but it often comes back to hurt us. I don't want revenge, I said, which was a lie, but it sounded better than the truth. I want justice. There's a difference. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Alicia, get the Meridian Tower files. The penthouse level of the Meridian Tower had 3 units. Unit A was owned by a retired judge. Unit B was a corporate rental for visiting executives. Unit C, the largest and most expensive, was leased to Mr. and Mrs. Darnell Richardson. Camille had leased it under Darnell's name, probably for tax reasons. Rich people always had tricks like that. The lease is up for renewal in 28 days, Alicia said. Current rent is $18,000 per month. It's been at that rate for 3 years, which is actually below market value. The previous owner gave them a discount because Mrs. Richardson's company does business with several of our corporate tenants. What's market rate? I asked. For that unit? At least $25,000 per month, possibly $30,000. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Draw up a new lease. Market rate, $30,000 per month, non-negotiable. Ms. Hawthorne. They can afford it, I said flatly. Camille Laurent is a billionaire. An extra $12,000 a month won't hurt her, but it will remind her that she doesn't own the world. That there are consequences. Mr. Hutchinson nodded slowly. I'll have the paperwork prepared. The lease renewal notice will go out in 5 business days. Perfect. I stood up. What else do I need to sign? We spent the next 3 hours going through paperwork. Trust documents, tax forms, corporate filings. My hand cramped from signing my name over and over. Vanessa Marie Hawthorne. My maiden name. The name my mama had put on everything. When we finished, Mr. Hutchinson shook my hand. Welcome to your inheritance, Ms. Hawthorne. You're officially one of the wealthiest women in the state. Your first monthly distribution will be deposited into your new account within 48 hours. That will be approximately $2.3 million. $2.3 million. In 2 days. Just the first month's payment. I walked out of that office in a daze. The sun was shining. People were walking past me on the sidewalk, living their normal lives, not knowing that the woman in the navy blue dress had just inherited an empire. I went back to my studio apartment. It looked even smaller and sadder than before. The walls were stained, the carpet was worn, the kitchen was barely big enough to turn around in. I'd been living here for 3 years, scraping by on pizza delivery tips, and I'd thought this was my life now. I called my landlord. "I'm moving out," I said. "End of the month." "You gotta give 30 days notice," he argued, "and you'll lose your deposit." "Keep the deposit," I said. "Consider it a tip." I hung up and laughed. It felt good. Really good. Then I called the pizza place. "I quit." "You can't quit without 2 weeks' notice," my manager said. "Watch me." I hung up on him too. I spent the rest of the day online, looking at apartments. Real apartments. In good neighborhoods with parking and security and appliances that worked. I found a beautiful 2-bedroom in a modern building with a gym and a doorman. $3,200 a month. 6 months ago, that would have been impossible. Now, it was nothing. I put down a deposit using my credit card, knowing I'd be able to pay it off in 2 days when my first distribution hit. The next morning, I went shopping. Real shopping. Not at thrift stores or discount outlets, but at the department stores downtown where I used to window shop on my lunch breaks back when I had a real job. I bought new clothes, professional suits, casual outfits, a winter coat that actually kept me warm, shoes that didn't have holes in the soles. I bought makeup and skincare products. I got my hair done at a real salon for the first time in 3 years. When I looked in the mirror, I saw myself again. Not pizza delivery Vanessa, not defeated Vanessa, me. 3 days after signing the trust papers, I got the call from Alicia. "The lease renewal notice went out this morning," she said. "To Mr. and Mrs. Richardson at the Meridian Tower penthouse. $30,000 per month, 12-month lease minimum, first and last month due upon signing." "How long until they respond?" I asked. "They have 14 days to accept or decline. If they decline, they have to vacate within 60 days. "Perfect." "Ms. Hawthorne," Alicia said carefully, "are you sure about this? We could approach this differently, more subtly." "I'm sure." I hung up and waited. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. On the 4th day, my phone rang from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then something told me to pick up. "Hello?" "You absolute nobody." Camille Laurent's voice was pure venom. "You pathetic, delusional nobody." My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice calm. "I'm sorry, who is this?" "You know exactly who this is. I don't know what kind of scam you're running, but you will not get away with this. I will destroy you. Again." "I don't know what you're talking about," I said sweetly. "Are you calling about a lease renewal? You should really speak to my property management company." "Your property management company?" She laughed, sharp and cruel. "You're a pizza delivery driver. You're nothing. You're nobody. And you definitely don't own the Meridian Tower." "Actually," I said, and my voice was steady and strong, "I do. I own the Meridian Tower. I own 11 other luxury buildings across 3 states. I own shopping centers and office complexes. I'm worth over $800 million, Camille, which means I'm your landlord, and your rent just went up." The silence on the other end was beautiful. "That's impossible," she finally whispered. "You're lying. The lease renewal notice is real. You have 10 more days to decide. Sign and pay the new rate or start packing. Your choice." "I will bury you," she hissed. "I will destroy you so thoroughly." "You already tried that," I interrupted. "You fired me. You blacklisted me. You stole my husband. You took everything I had and left me with nothing. And you know what? I survived. I delivered pizzas in your building and you didn't even recognize me because people like you don't see people like me. We're invisible to you. But I see you, Camille. I see you very clearly now." "This isn't over," she said. "You're right," I agreed. "It's not. Because there's one more thing you should know about your lease renewal. There's a clause in there, A very specific clause about tenant conduct and criminal allegations. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the embezzlement you and Darnell framed me for 3 years ago. The theft you pinned on me. The false accusations that destroyed my career. You can't prove anything. Maybe not yet, I said softly. But I have resources now. Money, lawyers, investigators. And I have time. All the time in the world to dig into what really happened. To find out how you and my ex-husband set me up. To get the truth. You're insane. No, I said. I'm just not invisible anymore. I hung up on her. My hands were shaking, but I felt more alive than I had in years. That night, I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. No subject line, just an attachment. I almost deleted it. Almost thought it was spam. But something made me click it. It was a photo, a bank statement. An account in the Cayman Islands opened 4 years ago in Darnell's name, with deposits totaling $2.7 million over 18 months. The exact amount that had been embezzled from Laurent Enterprises. The exact amount they'd blamed on me. At the bottom of the email, there was one sentence. I worked with you at Laurent. You were always kind to me when nobody else was. You deserve the truth. A friend. I stared at that email for a long time. This was evidence. Real evidence. Proof that Darnell had stolen that money, that I'd been set up, that everything they'd done to me was based on a lie. I forwarded it to Mr. Hutchinson with a simple message. I want to press charges. His response came back in minutes. Come to my office first thing tomorrow. Bring everything. I tried to sleep, but my mind was racing. Tomorrow, I would put the pieces in motion. Tomorrow, I would start building a case. Tomorrow? My phone rang at 2 a.m. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. Hello? Vanessa? Darnell's voice. He sounded drunk. Vanessa, baby, we need to talk. Don't call me baby, I said coldly. And no, we don't. Please, just listen. Camille, she's losing her mind. She's talking about lawyers and investigators and... He paused. She thinks you're trying to destroy us. I am. Baby, please. What we had died when you betrayed me, I said. When you helped her frame me. When you took everything and left me with nothing. I'm sorry. He was crying now. Actually crying. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I was weak and stupid and she was there and now you're calling me in the middle of the night begging for forgiveness? I laughed bitterly. Where was this regret 3 years ago when I was losing everything? Where was this guilt when I was delivering pizzas to your building? You delivered pizzas here? He sounded genuinely shocked. When? 4 days ago. To your apartment. Camille's paralegal opened the door. The silence stretched out. Oh my God, he finally said. I didn't know. Vanessa, I swear I didn't know. Of course you didn't. You never looked at me. Not really. 22 years of marriage and you never really saw me. Let me make this right, he pleaded. I'll testify against Camille, about the embezzlement, about everything. I'll tell the truth if I just what? Forgive you? Take you back? Is that what this is about? I love you, he said desperately. I never stopped loving you. You don't love me, I said quietly. You love what I represent. Safety, forgiveness, a way out from under Camille's thumb. But that's not love, Darnell. That's just convenience. Please, he whispered. Don't destroy us. We can work something out. The lease, the money, all of it. Just tell me what you want. I thought about what I wanted. 3 years ago, I would have wanted my husband back, my life back, an apology. Now? I want you to feel what I felt, I said. I want you to know what it's like to have everything taken away. I want you to understand what you did to me. Vanessa, you have 10 days to sign that lease or vacate the property, I continued. And tomorrow morning I'm meeting with my attorneys to discuss criminal charges for embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy against both of you. You can't do this. Watch me. I hung up and blocked his number. Then I blocked Camille's number. Then I sat in my sad little apartment that I'd be leaving in 3 weeks, and I smiled. My phone buzzed again. Another email. This time from a number I recognized, my old assistant at Laurent Enterprises. The message said, "Ms. Hawthorne, I heard through the grapevine what happened. I have security footage from the night the embezzlement was discovered, the night before you were fired. You need to see this." There was a video file attached. I downloaded it with shaking hands. The footage showed Camille's office after hours. Empty. Then Darnell entered, using a keycard. My keycard. The one that had gone missing 2 weeks before I was fired. I watched him sit at Camille's computer. Watched him access the financial systems using my login credentials. Watched him make transfers, delete logs, create false trails, all pointing to me. And then Camille entered. She kissed him, wrapped her arms around him while he committed fraud in my name. They celebrated. They laughed. They destroyed my life, and they laughed about it. The video was date-stamped, time-stamped, authenticated. It was everything I needed. I was still staring at the screen when someone knocked on my door. At 2:30 in the morning. I looked through the peephole and my blood ran cold. It was Camille Laurent, standing in the hallway of my shabby apartment building, looking completely out of place in her expensive clothes. And she was holding a gun. I didn't open the door. "Vanessa." Camille's voice was eerily calm through the cheap wood. "I know you're in there. I can see your shadow. Open the door." My heart was hammering so hard I could hear it in my ears. I looked around my tiny apartment for anything I could use as a weapon. A lamp, a chair, my phone, my phone. I pulled it out and dialed 911, keeping my voice low. "Someone's at my door with a gun. 847 Morrison Street, apartment 3C. Please hurry." "Stay on the line with me," the dispatcher said. "Don't open the door. Officers are 3 minutes away." "Vanessa!" Camille's voice got louder. "Open this door right now or I swear to God—" "Or what?" I called back. My voice was steadier than I felt. "You'll shoot me? In an apartment building with cameras in every hallway? With neighbors on all sides?" There was a pause. "You've ruined everything," she said, and now I could hear the crack in her voice, the desperation. "Do you understand what you've done? I built an empire. I have a reputation. And you nobody. You're destroying it all with your lies." "They're not lies," I said. "I have proof, Camille. Video footage of Darnell in your office using my credentials. Bank statements showing where the money really went. Emails, documents, everything." "That's impossible. You forgot about the security cameras. You forgot about the people who watched you destroy me and stayed quiet because they were scared of you. But they're not scared anymore, because you don't have power over everyone. You never did." I heard a sound in the hallway. Voices. My neighbor, Mrs. Chen, an elderly Chinese woman who always smiled at me, was yelling in accented English. "You put that gun down! I call police! They coming!" "Mind your own business, old woman," Camille snapped. "This is my business. This my building. You get out." More voices. More neighbors emerging from their apartments. The building might have been shabby, but the people who lived here looked out for each other. We were all struggling, all surviving, and we protected our own. "Police are here," the dispatcher said in my ear. "Officers are entering the building now." I heard footsteps thundering up the stairs. "Police, drop the weapon." What happened next was chaos, shouting. Camille screaming that this was a misunderstanding, the sound of the gun hitting the floor, handcuffs clicking. I opened my door to see Camille Laurent, billionaire, CEO, woman who'd thought she owned the world, pressed against the hallway wall in handcuffs while 2 police officers read her rights. She looked at me with pure hatred. This isn't over. Yes, I said quietly. It is. They took her away. One of the officers stayed behind to take my statement. I showed him everything. The threatening phone calls, the emails, the evidence I'd gathered. He took notes and gave me a case number. You should get a restraining order, he advised. And ma'am, you might want to think about moving somewhere with better security. I smiled. I already am. After he left, Mrs. Chen knocked on my door. She brought tea and cookies. You okay, honey? I'm okay, I said. And for the first time in 3 years, I meant it. The next morning, I was in Mr. Hutchinson's office at 8 a.m. sharp with all the evidence. The video footage, the bank statements, the security camera recording of Camille at my door with a gun. Everything. This is more than enough, he said, reviewing the materials. We can file criminal charges against both Mr. Richardson and Ms. Laurent. Embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy, criminal harassment, assault with a deadly weapon. We're looking at serious prison time. How long? I asked. 5 to 10 years, possibly more. The embezzlement alone is a felony. Add in the conspiracy and the gun incident last night. He shook his head. They're finished. What about my reputation? The blacklisting? Can we fix that? Absolutely. We'll file a civil suit for defamation, loss of income, emotional distress. We'll make sure every company in your industry knows the truth about what happened. And Ms. Hawthorne? He smiled. Once this story gets out, and it will, you won't need your reputation back. You'll be the woman who survived corporate fraud and came out on top. You'll be a hero. Over the next 2 weeks, everything moved fast. The district attorney filed criminal charges. The story hit the news. Billionaire CEO arrested for embezzlement, frame-up, and assault was the headline on every major outlet. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Reporters wanted interviews. Former colleagues called to apologize for believing the lies. Companies that had refused to hire me suddenly wanted to offer me consulting positions. I turned them all down. I didn't need their jobs anymore. I didn't need their validation. I had my mama's empire to run. The day before Camille's arraignment, Darnell showed up at Mr. Hutchinson's office. He looked terrible, unshaven, wrinkled clothes, dark circles under his eyes. Please, he begged, let me talk to her. Just 5 minutes. Mr. Hutchinson looked at me. It's your choice. I thought about saying no, about turning him away the same way he'd turned his back on me, but I needed to hear what he had to say. I needed closure. 5 minutes, I said. We sat in a conference room. Just the two of us. My lawyer waited right outside the door. I'm going to testify against her, Darnell said immediately. I'll tell them everything, how we planned it, how she convinced me you deserved it because you were holding me back, how she promised me a better life. And did she give you a better life? I asked. He laughed bitterly. She gave me hell. Everything's a transaction with Camille. Everything's about power and control. She doesn't love anyone. She can't. I realized that about 6 months after we got together. But by then, I was in too deep. I'd already betrayed you, already destroyed our marriage. I couldn't come back from that. No, I agreed. You couldn't. I know you'll never forgive me, he continued. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want you to know that I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. What we did to you was evil. I was evil. And I've had to live with that every single day. I looked at the man I'd loved for 22 years, the man I'd built a life with, the man who'd destroyed me without a second thought. I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no love, just emptiness where he used to be. Your testimony will help put her away, I said. So do it. Not for me, not for forgiveness, but because it's the right thing to do. Maybe the first right thing you've done in 3 years. Are you going to press charges against me too? He asked quietly. Yes, I said. You committed fraud. You helped frame me. You destroyed my career and my life. You deserve to face consequences. He nodded slowly. Okay, I understand. But, I continued, I'll ask the DA to offer you a deal in exchange for your testimony. Probation instead of prison. Community service. A chance to rebuild your life. Why would you do that? Because I'm not like you, I said simply. I'm not cruel. I don't enjoy destroying people. I just want justice. And justice doesn't always have to mean revenge. He started crying. I don't deserve your mercy. No, I agreed. You don't. But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. Because I'm choosing to be the person my mama raised me to be. Kind, fair, strong enough to show mercy even when I don't have to. I stood up. Goodbye, Darnell. I hope you build a better life. But build it far away from me. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. The trial was quick. With Darnell's testimony and all the evidence we had, Camille's lawyers advised her to take a plea deal. She got 7 years for embezzlement and fraud. With good behavior, she'd be out in 5. Darnell got 3 years probation, a $50,000 fine, and 500 hours of community service. Laurent Enterprises' board of directors forced Camille to resign. The company's stock dropped 15% when the scandal broke. Her reputation, the thing she'd been so desperate to protect, was completely destroyed. And me? I moved into my new apartment, the one with the doorman and the gym and the view of the city. I hired a property management team to handle my real estate empire. I set up a charitable foundation in my mama's name to help women who'd lost everything start over. The Meridian Tower penthouse went on the market. A tech executive bought it for $35,000 a month. I used the first year's rent to fund scholarships for single mothers going back to school. 6 months after everything happened, I was sitting in my new living room drinking coffee when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Ms. Hawthorne, this is Alicia. I hope it's okay that I'm calling. Of course, I said. How are you? I'm good. But I'm calling because I have something for you. Your mother left you a letter. Mr. Hutchinson wanted to wait until everything settled down to give it to you. Can you come by the office this week? My heart jumped. I'll be there today. 2 hours later, I was sitting in Mr. Hutchinson's office holding an envelope with my mama's handwriting on it. My dearest Vanessa, it said on the front. My hands shook as I opened it. My sweet girl, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I never got to tell you the truth in person. I'm sorry I lived small when I had so much. But I want you to understand why. Your father was a dangerous man, violent, cruel. When I left him, I was pregnant with you and terrified. I had nothing but the clothes on my back and $200 in my pocket. I promised myself 2 things. I would never let him find us, and I would build something that would keep you safe forever. I met Harrison Steele at the secretary job I took to make ends meet. He saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself. He lent me $50,000 to invest in my first property. I paid him back in 6 months. We became partners, best friends. He died 10 years ago, but he left his half of the company to me in his will. He believed in me until the end. Every property I bought thinking of you. Every investment I made for your future. I lived modestly so your father could never track our wealth, but I made sure that one day you'd have everything. Freedom, security, choices. Baby girl, you don't owe anyone anything. Not me. Not anyone who hurt you. This money is yours to do with what you want. Build something. Travel the world. Give it all away if that's what makes you happy. But whatever you do, remember this. You are stronger than you know. Kinder than the world deserves. Smarter than anyone ever gave you credit for. And you are my greatest achievement. Not the buildings or the money. You. I love you forever and always. Mama. I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. Mr. Hutchinson handed me tissues and sat quietly while I sobbed. For my mama. For everything she'd sacrificed. For the life she'd built in secret just to keep me safe. When I finally stopped crying, I knew what I had to do too. I sold 3 of my properties and used the money, nearly $100 million, to create the Geneva Hawthorne Foundation. We help women who've been blacklisted, fired unfairly, or destroyed by corporate fraud. We give them legal help, financial assistance, and job placement services. We help them rebuild their lives the way my mama built hers. We help them become invisible no more. A year after everything happened, I was at a foundation event when a young woman approached me. She was maybe 30, wearing a professional suit, smiling nervously. "Ms. Hawthorne, I just wanted to say thank you. Your foundation helped me when I was fired from my job for reporting sexual harassment. They said I was a liar. They blacklisted me. But your lawyers proved the truth, and now I have a new job and my reputation back. You saved my life." I hugged her. "You saved your own life. You were brave enough to tell the truth. We just helped." "How do you do it?" she asked. "How do you stay kind after everything that happened to you?" I thought about my mama, about delivering pizzas in a stained uniform, about standing in that lobby feeling invisible, about the moment everything changed. "I stay kind because cruelty already tried to destroy me," I said. "And it failed. I survived. And now I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure other women survive too." She smiled. "You're a hero." "No," I said. "I'm just someone who learned that the best revenge isn't hurting the people who hurt you. It's building something so beautiful, so meaningful, so powerful that their cruelty becomes irrelevant. They wanted to make me small. Instead, I became infinite." That night, I went back to my apartment and stood at the window looking out over the city. Somewhere out there, Camille was in prison, probably still convinced she'd been wronged. Somewhere out there, Darnell was doing community service, trying to rebuild a life he'd destroyed. But I wasn't thinking about them anymore. They were just shadows from a past life, characters in a story that had already ended. I was thinking about my mama, about her courage, her sacrifice, her love. I was thinking about the woman who delivered pizzas and survived humiliation and rose from nothing to everything. I was thinking about all the women out there right now who felt invisible, who'd been crushed, who thought they had nothing left. I was thinking about how much I wanted to tell them, "Hold on, your story isn't over. Your inheritance might be waiting right around the corner. Your justice might be closer than you think. You are not invisible. You are not nothing. You are stronger than anyone who ever tried to break you. And sometimes, the best revenge is just living well, living fully, living free." I picked up my phone and called Mr. Hutchinson. "I want to buy another property," I said. "Laurent Enterprises headquarters. I heard it might be going up for sale." He laughed. "You want to buy your old company's building?" "I want to turn it into affordable housing," I said. "For women starting over, for single mothers, for pizza delivery drivers who deserve better." "That's poetic justice," he said. "No," I replied, smiling at my reflection in the window. "That's just justice, the regular kind, the kind that builds instead of destroys. The kind my mama taught me. I'll make the calls." I hung up and stood there for a long time, feeling the weight of everything I'd been given. Everything I'd survived. Everything I'd become. 50 years old. $800 million. An empire built on my mama's love. And the rest of my life to do something meaningful with it all. I raised my coffee cup to the city lights, to my mama, to second chances, to justice, to being invisible no more. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.